Hey everyone, I'm Adam Harry from BoLS with
Drake from Dragons Are Comics and Fantasy.
and today we're taking a deep dive into Fury of Dracula. Drake, what is Fury of Dracula?
Fury of Dracula is a game of deduction and gothic horror set, I think, 8 years after the events of Dracula, the novel.
Yep.
Post the defeat, alleged, of Dracula
Alleged, yep.
at the hands of the characters, the main characters from the book.
They're returning in
Van
this
Helsing
game.
and
Yep.
Go. Yes. So Dracula is back, and he is sowing a web of intrigue and deceit across Europe, and it is the job of most of the players, who play as the protagonists from the novel, returned to fight their longtime foe
And crush him.
Right.
Something like that.
After figuring out where he is,
Right.
deducing his movement patterns, where he's going, that sort of thing. While another player plays as Dracula himself and notes secretly his path and traps and goings on and actions.
Layers and extra
Across-
thrall vampires that
across
slow down.
Europe. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. This game is actually the 4th edition, I believe, that was like a couple years ago released by FFG with partnership with Games Workshop, and it was really popular. And then they kind of split amicably, as far as I can tell, and then it has now been picked up by WizKids. So this is actually a reprinting of that version of the game.
Still Games Workshop.
Still Games Workshop and WizKids now. Slight tweaks to it, but the art, the production value, everything's pretty much identical. And it's a really good game, and I'm excited to get to show it off yet again.
I'm excited for it to be available again.
Yes, that's the big thing.
It was completely gone, out of print, couldn't get it. Now that it's back, definitely excited.
I got a couple of games in with it before, and it's a solid game, like Drake was saying, with the deduction and everything. So let's quit yammering about it and dive on in. Fury of Dracula. Drake, it's time to dive in, man.
Time to go back.
Going back in. All right, let's pop the box here. Again, I've seen a lot of this stuff before. We did an unboxing not too long ago, but it is actually out in stores. So that's the cool thing about this one.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of really cool stuff into it. We saw there's the learn to play and the rules reference that Drake just pulled off. Tokens. There's a lot of tokens.
Fancy punch outs.
Yep. Very cool looking.
More punch outs. Or map.
Yeah, this real fast. This is I believe this is the small map for Dracula, so you can keep track of locations. You'll have a little play mat for him or her, whoever's playing as Dracula. A couple of the different characters. Again, characters from the novel.
Godalming, Steward.
Moved up in the world. We've got actually Dracula, Van Helsing, Mina. We've got the actual
That's more like
board, which we'll get to in a second. This is the game board. We'll show that off in a second. Silica gel, that's very important.
Hey,
We appreciate the
Don't need
baggies,
it.
WizKids. Thank you.
looks like Dracula's dirty tricks,
Yep.
things and stuff and people.
Things and stuff and people.
Locations? Yep, locations. Nice.
All right, let me get this. This is the box of miniatures.
Oh,
They come pre-painted.
coming away from a vacuum pack, I see.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's all.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got Dracula, obviously. These are all pre-painted, and then the other 4 player characters are going to be playing as in the little bag. It's kind of a nice touch. And again, they are pre-painted, done probably by the WizKids painting stuff, and they've even got the same kind of designs on the bottom. So, matter of fact,
oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, WizKids. Yep.
This was his Games Workshop.
Made in China. Yeah. Well, either way, there you go. Now let's take a look at that board as well. There's nothing underneath those.
Do we need to prove it?
No, not this time, because I've done this before.
Oh wow.
This is a big board. This is a map basically of Europe all the way to Eastern Europe, close into the Urals. Basically, you got the Black Sea. That's where kind of the cutoff point.
Wow.
But then we got Eastern Europe again. Dracula's lair, Dracula Castle, obviously. A lot of good players won't start there.
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip,
Don't.
maybe don't start at the home base. But basically what's going down is there, gameplay-wise, there is a time structure There's a couple of different ways to win as Dracula. You need to kill the clock, essentially, kill the turns, in order to get back to Dracula Castle and kind of slumber, if you will. Or you take out the players one by one.
Right.
Because if you fight Dracula, it's bad. Players have a shot at taking him out, but they have to gang up. They really have to work together to hunt and track him.
You have to
and
corner him as a
corner
group.
him, right? As a group, that's the key part.
Not get caught unawares.
And the movement rules for Dracula, again, this is a deduction game, so the movement rules for Dracula are very specific. Dracula will take damage if he crosses water, so he has a tendency to avoid water travel if at all possible. But that doesn't mean he can't. It just means he will take a...
He doesn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, what else to talk about this game? So yeah, it is a deduction thing. Mina Harker, because she was bitten by Dracula, she can kind of get a ping whenever she comes into a territory, which are denoted by the different color sections. If Dracula's in that territory, she'll know, but she won't know where.
Wow.
Like if I go to Spain, and Dracula's in Spain, I know that he's around here somewhere. So that helps narrow the search down.
Okay.
And then the other characters have to get to you using roads, which take the longest, boats, or by rail. And you can see the rail lines. They have to buy tickets and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Dracula also can see over here. These little sections are like lair traps. That Dracula, the trail, if you will.
His tricks and traps.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's pause real quick. We're going to open up some of those cards and kind of go over them too. So I've got all the cards laid out here. Just again to give you an example, there's for starters we have event cards. That's going to be these cards here, and then also Dracula has his own set of event cards as well that Dracula can play. Dracula also has 5 power cards. Dracula can use these during their turn to activate one of their powers, and the reason you have these cards is you'll kind of know based on the trail section what Dracula's doing. There's some reference cards here too. There's Dracula combat cards, which are these cards right here. So their abilities: when you attack Dracula, you reveal a card from this deck, or Dracula might have a hand of these cards and he does something that was escape from them as miss. There are hunter combat cards, as well as item cards that allow the hunters to do stuff. So they might be carrying garlic. They might have items to use, abilities to use. Fast horses, dogs, like a pistol. Kind of sometimes useless, sometimes handy against
Dracula.
True. Yeah. There's also encounter cards, which are these. Resolving these can have different effects as well, but the characters will run into traps laid by Dracula. There are the location cards, so when you pick up Dracula's trail, they're gonna have the locations in play. There are different locations, obviously. There's the actual Castle Dracula, so that's kind of the end game there, and then of course your location cards traveling by sea, as what these cards are for. So
no matter where you are, based on the trail, even if it's face down, you know he is bound into water or kind of trending a certain way.
Yeah. So that's once you pick up his trail and you can start revealing those cards, then you'll have a better idea of what's going down. Also, there are the action cards, which kind of break down what hunters can do. I'm just going to read these real fast. Hunters in cities may perform one of the following actions during each day and night. So the turns are split into a day half and night half. You can move by road, move by rail, move by sea. You can only travel as a hunter during the day. Reverse a ticket. You buy tickets. You can use those to travel, or reserve a ticket, excuse me. You buy those to travel. You gain 1 ticket from the token pool area. Rest, that lets you heal up, because hunters will stumble upon those traps left by Dracula and take some damage. Search, that lets you reveal and resolve any encounter cards in the city. So it's part of the trails you're going to be picking up for Dracula. You're going to be revealing those encounter cards to see if you can resolve those in order to
gain clues.
Get clues, exactly. Special, that lets you use one of your actions. Each character's got their own special action. Supply, draw an item card, large city only, and then draw an event card, top during the day, bottom during the night. So you can kind of tell if it's going to be good or bad, hopefully, with the encounter cards there. Trade, exchange items and tickets tokens with a hunter in your city. That just helps you like get people equipped. So, you know, if Van Helsing doesn't have a weapon, maybe trade a weapon to him so that he can go kill.
And Godalming's dual wielding shotguns.
Yeah, maybe you can't really do that. So maybe give me one of them guns, bro.
Toss a brother some heat.
Right. But it is a game of deduction. Again, it's a lot of hidden maneuvering for Dracula as the Dracula character is moving around the board, keeping track on their play sheet, and then leaving clues behind that eventually do go cold. So the trails can go cold if the players aren't quick enough. Mm-hmm. So because there's a timing element to this game too, it's just a really interesting game flow. I've noticed in the games that I have played, you start off with this map. Again, you guys saw the board.
A large map.
A very large board of possibilities of where could Dracula be, and then you're just literally checking newspapers, finding clues, checking layers, checking hideouts. Hopefully Nina's using her ability to say, nope, Dracula's not in this location. I'm going to move to the next country area in the next zone and kind of see, hey, is Dracula here? So it's a neat deduction game. If your friends are really good at deduction, it could be a short game. If they're really bad at deduction, it could run a little longer. But it's a pretty cool game where you're not just playing the actual game you're playing. There's a bit of a meta game going on when you're messing with your friends too. Also, again, playing as Dracula, you've got some movement restrictions, but I think those limits help you get really creative with your power cards and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
definitely throw a wrench into what they think you're going.
Yeah, it's such a cool game. Again, all the different cards doing different things. But it's a neat mechanically. It's a really fantastic game. I think everybody should at least give this a shot once and just get your mind blown. So let's go ahead and hop out for a really quick recap. That was Fury of Dracula. Again, it's a great game. It's kind of like poker in a lot of ways.
Keep your bluffing face on.
Keep your bluffing face on because it's one player versus the party essentially. So it's an interesting dynamic. And it's also fun to like swap out who's Dracula every time and with your game group.
See how different people
Yeah.
try to trick everybody else.
Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and crunch the numbers on this one real fast. This is, of course, Fury of Dracula. It is a 2 to 5 player game. And it takes a little bit of time. It's 2 to 3 hours. Yeah.
Depending.
What was the age limit on this one? Or recommended ages?
Recommended 14 and up because... mostly because of mechanics. There's no content thing or anything like that. But it is a fairly challenging game. Requires a lot of critical thought, analytical thought.
Yep. So if you can handle it, 14-year-olds, go to town. And price point was
$59.99.
$59.99, and it's in stores again. So
it's back in stores.
Back in stores
by WizKids GW.
Yeah, very cool stuff. I highly recommend this game if you like to mess with your friends at all. This is a good game to do that. So go check out. That's Fury of Dracula. Back in stores finally. I'm Adam here from BoLS.
And I'm Drake with Dragons Are Comics and Fantasy.
And this has been another Tabletop Spotlight. Thanks again for watching. Tabletop Spotlight brought to you by Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy. Click to subscribe. Check out more videos. And thanks for watching.